Welcome to Louisiana Heartbeats. I'm Sudie, Landry, your host. And today we have another author who is releasing another book. She has a series that she is working on, has started, and she is Joyce Richards Case. No, Richard Case?
It's Richards.
Oh, I did. I
Richards
said
from
it
Texas.
right.
You did say it right.
Well, you know what? That was one thing I did not double check with you before we started the show because, in here there's Richards, there's Richards.
Oh, I know. Richards is from Welsh. It's English.
Oh, well, good. Well, this is Joyce Richards Case, and she is going to share with us the books that you see in the background, and she can tell us more about it. But I want to say, to start with, welcome to the show, Joyce.
Well, thank you so much, Sudie. It's a pleasure to be here.
You see how the show is? You just never know what's going to happen, but it just keeps on going. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like for you to know that Joyce, at the age of 14, was already writing for her family's newspaper. And I'd like to know, Joyce, and welcome to the show, what did you write at 14 years old?
At 14 years old, I wrote about school news and events that were happening at school. Our papers was the Houston West Side Reporter. So my mom thought it would be cute if my column was called The Little Reporter. So I did that for a while, and then when I got in high school, I said, can I please change it maybe to Teen Party Line? And I wrote about parties, I wrote about football games, I wrote about just anything that was happening at school, and then later it developed into writing more features for the paper.
Where were you living at this time with
It
your
was
parents?
in Houston.
In
It was
Houston,
right
you
outside of
mentioned it.
Houston in the Spring Branch area.
Okay.
And that was in 1952 when the I-10 Katy Freeway was a two-lane road.
Wow, things have changed now, huh?
It sure has.
Wow. What kind of articles did you prefer writing? Was it
Oh,
mainly?
well, I like to write about what my friends were doing and what was going on at school, different events.
So that's awesome. So how, did you publish anything outside of the newspaper?
Not at that time. I wrote until I was about 22 years old. I did change it to notes and quotes. But I wrote, and then when I married, we moved away and didn't write for a while. Life got in the way, raised a family. Basically, my writing from the 20s until, this time period was little poems on birthday cards.
All right. Well, that's an interesting topic. Some people are still doing just that or trying to get into that.
Yeah.
And so you chose the genre of, what kind of writing do you do?
I prefer, it started out when I moved here. I married a Louisiana man, moved to New Iberia in 99. And retired from Continental Airlines. I was a flight attendant, and there was a life writing class starting that UL was sponsoring in New Iberia, and it was for seniors writing about our life. And some people think, oh, I don't have an interesting life, but let me tell you, that was the topic of journaling in our Writers Guild meeting last night, how important it is to journal. And there's going to be somebody along the line that will be interested. I think of my grandmother, not my great-grandmother. My grandmother was born in 1870 in Villa Rica, Georgia, not far from Atlanta. Well, during that time, there was reconstruction of the country and everything. She did not write a thing. I didn't have anything from her, and I think how wonderful it would have been to have something of her and what her life was like at that time.
I'm going to jump in at this point and tell you that I didn't bring it up last night because we had a wonderful speaker last night. I didn't want to miss anything at the Writers Guild. We tried to bring out people who will help those that are sitting in the membership itself. And I mean, last night, Sally Donlan, we're going to plug you. Thank you very much for coming out, among many other wonderful guests that we've had. But last night, I wanted to add something I didn't, but I am now. Because of my grandmother's writings and saving them and just jotting ideas down, once she passed away, not too many years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I had the privilege, nobody else was interested in anything that was written, and I found an unfinished, unpublished children's story.
Wow.
And what's so unique is her name was Sudie Irby, and that was my name, maiden name. And so I decided that I'm going to publish that under her name, which is still my name, and give her credit. And she even had a pen name. And that's when I realized even more how much my grandmother and I were alike. So I understood some of where I got it from. But it was a children's story. Then I found something more serious, and through that, I did 7 generations family tree. That she had rolled it
Wonderful.
up and it was stored away, and it was awesome.
Yes.
So
it is important.
you can look down the road if you're an aspiring author to be, and you can find notes and you can find information that can turn into a book or just a family tree.
Absolutely.
So
And
it's
what
important.
was so great about delving into my family and what started the books. My dad had a dream in 1928. Well, he worked for newspapers ever since he was a kid, selling the Atlanta Constitution on the street corners of Atlanta. Just had a passion for the newspaper business. And he had a dream of establishing his own newspaper. And he met my mom in Hempstead, Texas, working in a newspaper office. And they had so much in common, fell in love. And so through the years, I have his columns that he wrote.
Wow.
Not all of them. Oh, I wish I did. But I thought it's so interesting to have a thread going through the entire series. Interspersed are columns that he wrote, and I didn't use his columns per se. I used his voice, what was going on. But it was 40 years after the timeline in the story. So there's about 8 editorials in each book that he was reflected back. And so right from the beginning, the reader knows this man did accomplish his dream.
Okay, let's back up. First of all, let's just restart and say, what are the series and what is it about? And who are your characters and what are they about? And then we can explain why we have all these wonderful books and that young lady standing next to you.
Right.
So let's go from there. Series. Is your books that you have up there a series?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I didn't know it was going to be a series, but I realized I had a lot to say. I started out, and I know the circumstances of my family's life. Someone just asked me, is it fiction based on fact? And yeah, it's fact. There were circumstances, but I started out putting my parents' name in the book, and I didn't feel right putting words in their mouth. So I had to come up with or embellish how certain circumstances came about. So I changed their name and made it the Pritchard series instead of the Richards family series. And I started out when they met in 1928, and I go on, and there's a lot of drama, a lot of tragedies, things that my dad actually hid from my mom. He was a binge drinker. He had a drinking problem. She was a woman of faith. He had a lot of faith, but his faith was misplaced. His faith was in himself. He knew he was a good newspaper man, and Mom's faith was in the Lord. And right away, the reader realizes he did come to the fact of knowing he had to place his faith in the Lord. And so as it developed and I started writing the story, I realized what a wonderful thing this is, that I can let people know through all kinds of circumstances there is answered prayer. And on the first book, The Paper Dreams, is that he had a dream, and my mom captured his dream, and they dreamed together. Their courtship was on the front porch of her house. Her dad would not let her go on a date unchaperoned back there in 1928. And so I wanted an old porch because that was so much a part of the story. I rode around New Iberia. I live in New Iberia.
Beautiful
looking
town.
for an old house. I found an old house for sale, weathered porch. And actually, my daughter is the one that posed for the covers of the books, my youngest daughter. And she's dressed in an outfit from the 30s, from an outfit that I wore when I was in To Kill a Mockingbird in the play in St. Martinville. So as it developed, I realized, I thought I was going to have 3. I thought it was going to be a trilogy. Well, I'm now in the process of editing the 3rd book, and there's going to be a 4th.
So you have the name of the 3rd book?
Yes, it's Between the Columns.
Okay, let's go with book number 1. The name of it was?
Paper Dreams,
And then-
it's the dream. And then as it's pressing on with hope, kind of a double meaning with the presses, and they were pressing on through all kinds of tribulations, and her name is Hope. as that was a neat thing how I came about, she is so full of hope. And I kept hearing the scripture about hope. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that you may abound in hope.
That's right.
By the power of the Holy Spirit. And that's Romans 15:13. And it was the God of hope, the God of my character,
Right.
and our God of hope. So that's how I came up with her name. On the third book, it's Between the Columns. And at one point, I remember my mom saying, do you realize my dad always had a column? They never missed an issue, no matter if he had a hangover or what was going on. She'd say, do you realize how much goes on between the columns when, you write one column and then all this thing happens and then here's another column. A lot goes on between the columns each
Wow, wow. True.
week. So that's how I came to that.
That's a good name. That's a good name. Okay, so what are you working on right now? Then I'm going to bring us back to the very beginning when you wanted to start writing.
Okay.
Right now, what are you working on?
Okay, it's Between the Columns. It's the third one. It's an editing process, and it's a historical. It's Christian novels, but I do a lot of research. And it's starting in 1928. There was so much drama going on. There was, of course, the Great Depression. There was some family tragedies that occurred, losses of family members. And then here comes World War II, and I wanted to portray, I did a lot of research on that, because I wanted to portray on the home front what was American families like during all the buildup of entering into World War II and then Pearl Harbor.
You know what? It is amazing, just recently, how many people are writing books that are referring back to World War I, II. It's amazing that the stories are coming forward. One of our members, Dad's War Photos.
Yes.
Okay. Then
Yes.
another lady came up last night, was talking about something similar to what she wanted to put together, World War II. And now here you are mentioning this. That is stories that if it doesn't get put down, it's going to get
Absolutely.
lost.
Where's it going to go? That's the thing with the life
Wow.
writing class that interested me so much when I returned to my writing, was to realize these people had beautiful stories, each person in the class, and if they don't write them down, they're gone.
That's it. And as we're talking up here, I'd like for the webpage to show, because if people out there are interested in anything that you have to say, all they have to do is actually check out your webpage, and
Right.
and that way they'll know where you're at, what you're doing. And I enjoyed the fact that you had a little contest I missed.
Oh, yes, I
But you
did.
got to read the book. That's the whole thing.
Yes,
Read
yes.
the book,
You
and
had
then
to
she
read
asks
the
a
book.
question.
It had a question, and then
Fun.
you can win the third book. But I also, at the end of each book, I have questions to consider. Questions about the book, like, how do you think Hope reacted to this situation? What would you have done in this situation? And so I kind of want people to think, I want people to realize they've got to go to the Lord in everything that they do and really think about their faith.
Well, I want to compliment you on this. I usually try to find out as much as I can about the author, and sometimes I get way ahead of the scheduled date for you to come in. Sometimes I'm cramming at the last minute. But I will tell you that your webpage was awesome because it was unique, and out of all the web pages that I've checked out, it caught my interest because of the fact that you interact with the questions and you find out if people really are reading your book, and you award them with rewards, with the winner gets whatever. I've never seen that offered before.
Oh, well,
it may
thank
be out
you.
there, but I've
Thank
never seen
you.
it. But it brought to my attention that I need to write. I need to check that out because it sounds like I know for sure I'd be interested
and
in
I
that.
blog. I have some blog things on there.
wanted you to
And
talk about the
yes,
blogging.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And it's what's going on. Of course, the world news now is horrifying. And so my recent blog is about that we have to stay calm, and there's peace in the midst of the storm, and that's what that's about. So,
Do you have any book signings coming up anytime soon?
not anytime coming soon. I'm open.
Well, I was approached last night to do another arrangement where our authors would be able to bring the books out. We did one time. All of our authors that had books, we had a special little place to do it. Well, out of the blue, the next person that came up to me said, I have this location in New Iberia that I'll offer if you want
Oh.
to do a workshop. And he had no idea I had just been approached.
Ah,
And that's the whole reason behind the Writers Guild of Acadiana.
Sure it is.
It's to put people like you here and showcase what you do and share in the community your stories and some people's dreams and even their small businesses. And then so therefore people know, hey, you know, it's amazing that all of this talent a lot of people don't know about. But that is something we're going to have to work out, and then we were offered it for no cost. So any
that's
author
cool.
that's interested,
That's cool.
any author that's going to be
Yeah.
interested, it'll be a gathering, and we could get people to be able to mingle and ask questions and
right.
check out your books there.
Several of the individual signings that I've had at homes, instead of, you know, a lot of times an author would just read an excerpt from their book. I wanted to interact with the people, and I have little cards. I have a card
You
in
gave
each.
me one. I got
Yeah,
one.
and but on them I have a quote from the book, and so I pass them around for everyone so that they can be a part of it to read a quote. You know, like
Okay,
you
go
know, there
ahead.
was
Yeah.
one.
You had a
know,
Bible quote on the one that
I
I
had
have.
a Bible quote on that, and that's what is in each book. Yeah, that's
Yes.
that. Is
And
one
I
in each
loved,
one.
and I love the fact that you know
Yeah.
that it's got your picture up there, and you've got
Yeah.
your information, your email, your webpage. It's
Yeah.
very attractive, very
Thank
very
you.
attractive.
Thank you.
So we're just going out to through the Writers Guild. We're going to be doing that soon.
Yeah.
Right now, though,
okay.
as you know, we have to finish with April. We're going to be rewarding the high school creative writing
Oh,
contest.
that is really wonderful.
And then we're going to work on all these little stories, prompt lines. People in our membership have created stories, and we're going to do an anthology book. And so, meanwhile, if you have not done this, you need to contact our webpage mistress and have her put what you've published and all that. And I didn't get a chance. She's working on the webpage. But we need to also keep updated on what our authors
Yeah.
are doing.
Yes.
And remember last night, all of those flips that I had passed out for
Yes.
different people?
Yes.
It was amazing why people were coming. It was complimentary in so many areas. And
It was a questionnaire
Wow.
on why Writers Guild is important to us.
And through it all, I mean, it was doing what my heart's desire was, trying to give each interest somebody to come out there and be able to talk with them, you know. So I was really excited last night about that. And there's a whole lot more to that story that I won't even be able to share right now, but it will be on a television show. And the Lord is just opening so many doors, and not just being blessed that she has agreed to be my editor. She's
Oh.
editing a lot of stories, and she's already
Yes.
edited 1, 2, working on a 3rd story from someone. But then again, 2, she was the first one to join us as far as agreeing to be the editor in our own little group, trying to do that. But also we have another situation where we're going to be able to try to meet each person's needs as far as like Sally last night said, broker them out to whoever they need to help. You go, you make the deal, and you get what you need, and that's between you. So
Right.
it's a resource, and that's what we're about.
Right.
Backing up to the very beginning.
Yes.
Okay. It was in your genes to be a writer. It looks like
Oh, yeah.
basically your DNA.
Yeah.
Okay, but so what kind of articles did your dad write? What kind of?
Oh my goodness, he was pretty fiery. He was very opinionated politically, nationally, and locally, and he got in trouble sometime for it.
Ooh.
And I write about that in the book.
Okay.
Somebody beat him up one time. They
Oh, my
didn't
gosh.
agree with him, and his columns. He wrote about what was going on. He wrote about Watergate.
He told
and
the truth,
Yes, he did indeed. Yes.
And the freedom of speech got him in trouble, right?
Yes, that's right. That's what he said. Freedom of speech is not so free because you get beat up if you tell the truth. That's what he did. But it was a total family. My brothers were 12 and 13 when I was born, so I was a latecomer. And we all worked in the newspaper.
Okay.
My brothers were newspaper men and could write articles, run the linotype, run the presses, everything. And so it was a family newspaper.
The reason I brought that up, and you beat me to it and said exactly what I was wondering. was the fact that the whole family wanted to do what they
Yes.
were doing.
Yes.
They wanted to be a part of it. And so therefore,
Yes.
wow,
And
they
my-
weren't being twisted into
Not
it.
at all. I mean, from the time they were kids, they were interested in it. And what is so amazing is their wives and even extended families of the wives all were a part of the newspaper. And it really, really grew.
And at that time, it was called what?
The Houston West Side Reporter, when we first moved to Spring Branch area,
Okay.
it's a part of Houston, but it was like a little town at that
Then.
point. It was called the
roads.
Spring Branch Reporter.
Wow.
And then it grew so much over in the entire west side of Houston, so they expanded, and Texas Press Association awarded them the biggest newspaper in the state of Texas, paid weekly circulation newspaper. And so, you know, it grew from nothing to something that was
So about how
really,
many
really
years
wonderful.
did it stay in operation?
Well, gosh, their first paper, I think, it was in the early 30s. It was like 1931, and they sold the newspaper in 1978.
Wow.
And so my brothers continued on in their own endeavors in the newspaper industry.
So they
and job printing.
they still in newspaper?
No, I'm the only one left of my
Wow.
family. They're
Okay.
all gone now. So nobody can take me to the woodshed and said I just said something wrong. But I'm kind of taking liberties on some of them. But I think they would really be proud.
Well, you're not going to believe this, but it's time to end the show.
Oh, shoot.
So.
I could just talk forever.
I know. Maybe we ought to come back in after you get done with you. Well, if anyone's interested, we want to be sure that they get that webpage up there. So I want to go ahead and close out, and then we'll continue talking as the rolling credits start. Thank you for watching Louisiana Heartbeats, and you need to tune in every Tuesday night. It just might be you or Joyce, Richard, Case, okay, that we're showcasing. And if you're interested, then why don't you think about coming on the show? Until then, just know that we are a community. We want to know about you and what you're doing. And we thank you, Joyce, for coming in.
Thank you, Sudie, so much.
So while the rolling credits are going, is there anything you want to say about that beautiful portrait right there?
Oh, that's my daughter.
And
I'm
what
just
is her
proud of
name?
Her name is Valinda. Starts with a V.
Okay.
Valinda, and just want everybody to be encouraged in the Lord.
That's
That's
it.
where to turn.
That's right, because I believe, and with God all things are possible. To those who
Absolutely.
believe and are called according to his purpose. And without him, I would not be here today, and I know that. So,
Yes.
well, this is wonderful. Acadiana Upwood Channel, thank you for this opportunity.